Yo, what's going on, guys? It is Foxy98 here. Welcome back to a brand new F1 2017 career mode video for you guys today on my channel. And today we're kicking things off exactly where we left off in the last episode. In the last episode, we obviously got our contract, which was to stay at Mercedes, join Ferrari, join Red Bull, or join Force India. And obviously, for Season 3, I have decided that the best option that I felt that could go for me was to join Red Bull Racing. So, for Season 3 of the career mode, we're going to be joining up with Red Bull Racing, and before we get into anything, I want to explain exactly what made me choose Red Bull Racing and why we're going to be going ahead with it. But anyway, first of all then, so, in terms of joining Red Bull Racing, I honestly felt like it would be a fun and awesome challenge for this video. But first of all, look at the amount of upgrades that Red Bull have done to their car. In terms of the engine, there's an absolute load that's been done to the engine here, and that's awesome to see. They've actually got an ultimate engine upgrades that we need to maybe look forward to. But yeah, they've done a lot of work everywhere, and also with the new patch, we're not actually that far off the pace. But I want to talk about then, why did I pick Red Bull? So, a lot of people obviously voted Mercedes, a lot of people voted Red Bull. The poll, I believe, was mostly at Red Bull, but like I said, I didn't choose this team based on the poll. Now, someone did ask, what's the point in running a poll if you make the final decision? At the end of the day, I wanted to see what people thought. I wanted to see what people wanted. Now, Mercedes-Benz, as we all know, if you watch my videos now for the last week or so, or not even the last week, the last couple of weeks, you'll know that I've supported Mercedes-Benz since they came into Formula 1 in 2010, and I've also just loved Mercedes-Benz cars in general. However, I decided to join Red Bull on the purpose of content rather than personal preference. So, for me, if Mercedes was slightly slacking in terms of pace and just overall vehicle performance, I would have stayed there hands down. But for me, first of all, you know, in terms of staying at Mercedes, I literally can just do a career mode on by myself, like off camera, with the Mercedes-Benz team, because there's 10 saves, so I don't need to necessarily record a Mercedes career mode. I can just load up a different save, because there's now 10 saves of career mode, and just do a Mercedes one. And for me, I felt like that was the best option. With Red Bull, I've got a two-stage challenge. First of all, I've got to try and challenge and beat Ferrari. Then as soon as I've jumped Ferrari in the vehicle performance, then I get to go after Mercedes. So I just felt like a lot of people were saying, you know, move up to 110% AI. And I didn't do it, and I stood by that for the simple reason that I just really struggled, and I really didn't like it, and it made me not enjoy the game. But then staying where I was, as much as I was having fun racing in my Mercedes, not many people were having as fun watching it. And I feel like, despite a lot of people saying to stay with Mercedes, I feel like just content-wise, you know, Red Bull was the best way to go. I mean, Mercedes also had 2,500 resource points that they spent over this winter break on the car, making it even harder to catch them. So in general, I just felt like it was the right decision for me, and I feel like it's just going to bring back that fresh content. And like I've always said before, I like to keep the channel fresh and just different. And for me, going to Red Bull, it's just different. It's not the same thing again, so that's why I went there. But anyway, let's get straight into the season itself. So, we did the practice programs, and we saw that the powertrain was the worst thing that the Red Bull was at, but they're not far off the Ferrari and the Mercedes' pace. Not Mercedes-Benz, the Mercedes-powered Williams and Force Indias. Anyway, as you can see, Daniel Ricciardo actually got knocked out in Q2, a big problem there. So we did the practice programs, and as we're coming into qualifying, it is very clear that we are definitely the third best team on the grid, and we've still got a little bit of way before we attack the Mercedes and the Ferraris. But into Q3 we go then, the final qualifying lap of this session here, the 121.3 was the target to beat here in qualifying. Unfortunately, we were over a second off the pace, but we still managed to grab third place for the Australian Grand Prix, which, to be honest, is a very, very strong achievement. And it's an all-Finnish front row. Kimi Raikkonen qualifying in second place. Bottas putting in an absolutely phenomenal lap time there. Lewis Hamilton qualifying quite far down the grid, actually, down in sixth place, which is not a very good result there for him indeed. Yeah, I just felt like the car, in terms of the Red Bull car, actually, trying to speak of it, it was actually really nice. It felt good. Handling was decent. Straight line speed was definitely lacking, and that's something that I need to get used to is that this car does not have the straight line speed of the Mercedes, especially when we Ultimate Engine upgraded it. So I'll definitely be focusing a lot of my resources towards the powertrain for this Red Bull, because it definitely needs it. In terms of the chassis and the aerodynamics, it's on a par, if not matching Mercedes-Benz. I know for the chassis, Ferrari has the best chassis, then I believe we do in the Red Bull, or maybe just a pixel behind Mercedes, and then the aerodynamics, again, we're matching. So if I can continue to match if I continue to match Mercedes and Ferrari in terms of the chassis and the aerodynamics, that means then that I can focus and spend my time upgrading towards the powertrain. But I think for what they're going to do is, I think for the first 4 races, or maybe up to like Canada, I think we're going to make an upgrade at Canada in terms of trying to get everything ready towards that time of the season to then give us a big push. I feel like for the first half of the season, it's going to be damage limitation, whereas the second half of the season, we're going to go all out. But today, we're going to be doing a different strategy. We're actually going to be doing a one-stop for today's Grand Prix, because I just didn't feel like I had the outright pace to beat Mercedes and Ferrari. So I'm going to be doing something different, and I'm starting third, and we're going to do a one-stop from ultra soft to super soft to get us that track position, which I inevitably do, and then I just wipe out Kimi Räikkönen on the formation lap because he's not going to crash out, and it was quite funny. But anyway, then we're on the grid here to start Season 3, then Lean Mixture 5. Red lights, and it is lights on. We go here to start this Grand Prix and this season off in fine style. And again, the lean mixture tactic coming into play here in towards turn 1, then coming in with the move on Valtteri Bottas. Going to get boxed in slightly. A little bit of contact with the front wheels between myself and Bottas, but that is just racing, and that's what people like to see. A little bit of argy-bargy here and there. And as you can see now, we're carrying on our way. Kimi Räikkönen leads the Australian Grand Prix. I am up into second place. Someone's going for a dive bomb. It's Lewis Hamilton making a great start, in fact, and he's going to try and get onto the back of Bottas. And this is onto the further now, onto lap 1 of the Grand Prix. And Valtteri Bottas struggling in these early phases. Hamilton now to the inside into the turn 12 chicane. Doesn't quite make it stick. Bottas holds in front. But now, as you can see here, onto lap 2 of the Grand Prix, Valtteri really has got some sort of a problem. He's now holding up a lot of the field, and that's my Red Bull car there, just in the distance. Me and Kimi Räikkönen are absolutely darting away from Bottas and from Lewis Hamilton and from Vettel behind. All of these guys are under pressure at the moment now to get past Bottas, as again, look, they're constantly fighting through turn 12. They're just not getting it done, unfortunately. However, now with DRS enabled here, onto lap 4 of the Grand Prix now, Lewis Hamilton here is going to use the second part of the DRS zone here. He used the first phase to get himself close to Bottas. Now he's going to go for a run from Valtteri, and towards turn 4, I believe this is now, around the outside here, side by side between himself and Valtteri Bottas. He sticks it though around the outside. Great battling between the two Mercedes cars, and as you can see, they have not lost their battles from when I was at that team. But as you can see, Hamilton makes it stick on Valtteri Bottas, and he is up into P3 now. But already onto lap 10 of the Grand Prix, we're coming in for our very first pit stop, because really, the action has not been with me. It's been with everybody else behind. With Valtteri Bottas holding up the rest of the field, the gap was about 5 or 6 seconds, maybe even more. And I was able to just pull away. However, my biggest problem was actually Kimi Räikkönen. I couldn't stick with him in the early phases of the race. So hopefully the one stop can bring me into play. Now, Kimi Räikkönen pitted about 2 or 3 laps earlier and closed the gap very heavily to myself, which means he's going to have a big gap coming out of the pits. And also, you may be able to see just there on my car that the number 1 sign has actually worked. So my Red Bull, I'll be running the number 1 for the entirety of this season rather than the number 98. You can see it there on the side pod. Normally I run 98, but the 1 was glitched. Now it's there, so I can run the number 1 and show that I am the number 1 driver in this game. But anyway, you can see now that Kimi Räikkönen's got a very, very big advantage. And onto lap 13, I believe the gap is 14 seconds, which means he's actually close to completing the pit stops gap that he was going to get on us. But you can see we've got some yellow flags up towards the end of the first sector here in this Grand Prix. And it is Kimi Räikkönen. Räikkönen, the race leader, is out of the Australian Grand Prix. The virtual safety car has come out, and the plans to attack Kimi Räikkönen, well, I don't need to anymore. He's just DNF from the Grand Prix. And yet again, the big element of luck that comes into this career mode has come back again for my Red Bull car. And here is a replay of Kimi Räikkönen. So he's catching my teammate Ricciardo, and it's a mechanical failure. No engine smoke. He just parks off to the side there. So that's horrible to start the season off for Ferrari. As the virtual safety car ends, Ricciardo is pitted now. Carlos Sainz has locked up, and Ricciardo makes it through. So this is just after the virtual safety car. Ricciardo made a pit stop under the VSC, but he's still rejoined behind me. Sainz under pressure now as Ricciardo makes that move stick. We're back to green flag racing. But again, look, Bottas and Hamilton battling hard, very close towards each other. Mercedes have got the best car on the grid, but they're just not really working at the moment. But as you can see now, here comes Valtteri Bottas to attack Carlos Sainz, and he is going to go for it here down the inside in towards the last sector of this track. And as you can see, he makes it stick here. down the inside, gets the better acceleration, and as you can see, Sainz under some pressure now as Lewis Hamilton is going to look to try and get past him. Will he make a move on towards this straight? No, he doesn't yet. Sorry, this corner. He's going to have to wait potentially for the pit straight. It kind of depends on what Sainz is up to, and as you go on board with Lewis Hamilton, he opens up the DRS now, but Sainz crucially has DRS himself, and the Mercedes can't utilize the straight line speed they've got because the straight just isn't long enough. And as you can see, in towards turn 1, Hamilton stays behind Sainz, but I have no doubt with the second bite of the cherry, he is going to get past Sainz, and then Sebastian Vettel is also looking to get past him as Lewis Hamilton now goes towards the inside line here on Carlos Sainz. He makes the move stick, and that is a great overtake for Lewis Hamilton, and now Sainz dropping down the order, but this is expected as these are all top drivers and are all looking to try and make gains in this race as Vettel now makes a little dart there towards the outside line here. Here comes Sebastian Vettel. This is going to be a brave move here, and as he, of course, he is the lone Ferrari left in this race around the outside. Really good stuff from Sebastian Vettel, holding it on in there. Great stuff for Sainz as well to give Vettel a fight, but eventually Carlos has to just give up the position there as he just can't fight it anymore. And onto lap 23 of the Grand Prix now. You just saw it on the top of your screens there. Lewis Hamilton is out of this Australian Grand Prix, and this has been a very confusing race, but there's been literally no action for me. There's been action everywhere else but just on board with me. At the moment, I'm currently leading the race. Daniel Ricciardo is in second, and obviously I go wide there into the last corner, but Hamilton is out of the race. He was in third place, but he's out of the race, unfortunately. And Valtteri Bottas is now out of the race, so both Mercedes cars are out of the Australian Grand Prix. What's going on? Everyone is just DNFing from this Grand Prix, left, right, and centre, and that's just left a Red Bull 1-2, and here's a replay of how both the Mercs crashed out. So Hamilton's got an engine failure. His car is smoking badly here, and Valtteri Bottas has gone into the back of him. What is Valtteri doing? He's just gone straight into the back of Hamilton. Lewis has gone to park up the car, and Bottas has gone straight into the back of him there. That's such a clumsy attack there from Valtteri Bottas. And onto lap 25. Things are just all nice for me. We've got Van Dorn in the gravel, and we've got Kvyat literally backwards on the track. What's going on in this race? What is everyone doing? No one can seem to keep the car on the track. Everyone's DNFing. And onto lap 29 of the Grand Prix, the last lap of the Grand Prix. I've had no problems up front. I've had nothing go wrong for me, you know. Everyone's just crashed out around me, and on the first race of this season, it's all kicking off here in Season 3, but we have won the Australian Grand Prix. The first time, I think, in career mode, I've won the Australian Grand Prix. I didn't win it in Season 1 or 2, and I am here to win it in Season 3. And Christian Horner is extremely ecstatic to win the first race for Red Bull Racing to kickstart this season in fine style. But there it is, guys, the race win. But that was a very complicated race, so I kind of want to go through it. So basically, I'm saying this now, my race, like if I just showed my solo POV, was the most boring race you will ever witness in your life. Apart from making the overtake on Valtteri Bottas into turn 1 and lapping a few cars, I did not make an on-track overtake that whole race. It was a case of me trying to keep up with Raikkonen in the first stint, Raikkonen then getting the undercut, catching Ricciardo and then DNFing. Ricciardo then dropped back behind Sainz. Me managing the gap between Ricciardo and managing the gap between myself and Ricciardo. The two Mercs then crashed out and were battling each other. And then Seb came through and nicked third place from Sainz. Sainz finishes in 4th place. You'll see it on your screens just now. But yeah, there it is. Sainz 4th, you know. So really, everything happened away from me. Like, Mercedes is DNF'd, Raikkonen DNF'd, Perez and Verline DNF'd. I didn't catch those ones, actually. But yeah, it was such a weird Grand Prix. I mean, in the driver's standings, the Red Bulls are 1 and 2, with myself and Ricciardo first and second. But I don't expect that to be there for very long. In the Constructors' Championship, very, very comfortable. 43 points already. But yeah, that was such a weird race. Like I said, everything happened around me. Nothing happened involving me. It just happened with the two Mercs battling each other constantly. Everyone trying to get past Sainz. The Ferrari DNFing. Both Mercs crashing into each other. Yeah, just everything happened in that race. But anyway, we've got an invitational event now which we are going to complete. And it is to do an overtake challenge with the McLaren and see how he goes. So unfortunately, I didn't actually complete this invitational event. I believe I was just short. But I just decided to leave the footage in anyway, nonetheless, rather than just skipping it out. Because, you know, might as well just show you guys the footage here. But it was very, very difficult. I believe I've already completed this invitational event before, but I just completely forgot how late you could brake with the McLaren, this car. You can brake really, really late and still make the corners. So I didn't really realize that to start with. I made a lot of mistakes, especially like here as well. And I just struggled in the wet in general to actually get the car to really bite into the track. And that's definitely what cost me overall. But you can see that we're making some progress here. And what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to let you guys watch the rest of this. And I will see you in a minute. Alright then, so as you can see now, this is towards the end of the invitation. You can see there is the last car that we needed to get, and if we just had the chance to go through this corner here, I would have been able to have just darted it down the inside. But nonetheless then, that is the end of this career mode. If you have enjoyed it, drop it a like, subscribe if you're new around here as well, and I'll see you guys next time. Take care all, peace.